Tonight, Q tells us to stay vigilant as more news is breaking against the evil cabal, and it's looking bad for them. Hi, I'm Craig, and welcome to Just Informed Talk. For those of you who don't know, I start every one of these episodes out by saying thank you to each and every one of my subscribers. Without you guys, the channel just doesn't work, so thank you to everyone who's come here and hit that button. Now, if you have not hit that subscribe button, now's a great time. Come here to this landing page, click the big red subscribe button, hit the bell for notifications. That way, as soon as these videos get posted, you'll be notified, because as soon as information is made available to me, I make it available to you. Now, jumping into the latest Q post, there's actually a lot here, and it's a lot of very interesting stuff. So this is where we left off, and you guys, if you guys want to get up to date with where we're at, please come back over here and watch some of these videos from before. But the last video we left was a very important one, where they have finally officially, as of yesterday, unsealed the indictment against Anthony Weiner in the Eastern Court of New York, Eastern District Court of New York. So that is bombshell, because they had to replace the Attorney General of New York and the U.S. Attorney in that district court in order to get a fair judge in place, in order to not have this case just get thrown out or have this case get swept under the rug, because that is the opposite of what's going to happen here. But go back and watch that if you want to get that information. I surely encourage you guys to go check it out. Now, the next thing we're going to see from that post forward is Q posts here. He posts this Reuters article, and I think this is a definite hint and a wink to what's coming up next in as far as investigations into the Obama administration and Eric Holder and their Operation Fast and Furious, as it was known, will be coming down the pike very shortly. It's actually just been released today here in this article that they're going to basically reopen this case after it had been basically closed before. But what they're saying here is that there was an effort by the Obama administration to actually funnel guns down into Mexico in something called gun walking. Now, what that means is you allow an individual who you suspect is going to purchase a large amount of guns and then resell them on the black market to make that purchase, and then you have to follow them and catch them in the act of reselling those weapons. Now, nobody knows where those weapons have gone, but there's been a lot of speculation. There's been and a lot of fact behind where they ended up in reality. A lot of those guns just ended up on the other side of the border or in the hands of criminals here in the United States who've actually murdered American citizens since, and it was a failed operation, complete blunder. At minimum, it was just complete ineptitude, an inability to execute a operation successfully. At maximum, there was something very, very criminal going on. People have speculated the guns ended up all the way as far as Libya and contributed to the overthrow of Gaddafi. Now, wouldn't that be a bombshell if that were true? These are just allegations right now, but could you imagine if the Obama administration and Eric Holder used an operation with the ATF in the Phoenix office to let guns out through Mexico that they knew would end up in Libya to be used to overthrow Muammar Gaddafi? But that's all speculation. There's no fact to base any of that up, so I'm just going to give it to you guys and let you think about it, and you let me know what you think in the comments. But here's the next one, but before we do that, let's just look at who's being highlighted in this article, right? It's Eric Holder. And why? Because he is the one who would have been in charge of that operation, even though it's been said that he has he's been cleared of his participation, apparently, but that doesn't mean that that's necessarily the case, especially since there's going to be a reopening of the investigation into the oversight. Documents actually pertaining to this operation were finally released to the House Intelligence Committee. And what's important about that is that Obama's appointee as Attorney General, Eric Holder, was held in contempt before for failing to turn over the documents about this operation. And Obama had stepped in and used his executive privilege to keep that information from getting to the House Intelligence Committee. So now finally we have Trump in, and he's actually helped and start the ball rolling to get this information out there to have these documents released. So we're going to see what those documents end up revealing, but it's going to be very interesting. And Jeff Sessions has said that he's going to turn the documents over. So that will be something to look forward to. Now, here's an idea of how much of a terrible person Eric Holder is. He actually is up here talking about how Joy Ann Reid, the bigot racist that you probably have seen on MSNBC, who I can say that because I've heard her statements and comments, and she's a racist in my opinion. And she's also a bigot. If you looked at the blog, story that just blew up about her and her blog where she was talking about derogatorily about homosexuals or whatever it was in that story. But I mean, that's what this woman is. And then you have, here's Eric Holder. Oh, she's appropriate and heartfelt and a unique and compelling voice for tolerance and equality, even though she's a racist and a bigot. So yeah, that's what the kind of insanity we're dealing with here. Here's him actually congratulating the DNC for the Democratic Party for suing Russia, Trump, and WikiLeaks, which opened the floodgates to the whole demise of, I think, of their entire cabal, if you will. And then here's another great little great little tweet here from Eric Holder. Former United States Attorney Giuliani essentially called FBI agents stormtroopers, quote unquote. I mean, essentially called FBI people he worked with and to whom he owes much of his success. The 82nd Attorney General of the United States, calls them what they actually are: patriots. It's laughable. It's a joke because in his mind, yes, the stormtroopers that he's manifesting through his own imaginative skills, but are actually probably acting as stormtroopers if they're helping Eric Holder and his cabal with Obama and Clinton and all them. But they're patriots to them, obviously, because they're basically not beholden to the American people. They're beholden to the power elite who aren't even in power anymore, but still wield power. How about that for a conundrum? And that's the whole story there. And the next one is obviously going to be different. It's talking about an older Q post from April 9th of this year, and it's saying, trust Sessions, trust Wray, trust Kansas, trust Horowitz, trust Huber, Q. Now, Q told us this before because he wanted us to know that Sessions, Wray, so we're talking about Jeff Sessions, the Attorney General, the FBI Director, Christopher Wray, Kansas, who is the Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo, the Inspector General, which is Horowitz, and the special attorney that was put on the case by Sessions and Trump, Huber. And we're going to go over Huber in more detail here coming up, so let's just go forward. So, but Q's reiterating that we need to trust these individuals. Fair enough. Okay. So the next one is an interesting quote, and this one made me laugh very hard. But this one's telling us to look at the Turley Sessions using Utah federal. It's a Breitbart article, excuse me, that's telling us to look at John Huber and saying, why was this made public? John Huber appointed by, removed by, reappointed by. Why the reboot? Think logically. History books Q. So Huber, as I know it, he was appointed by Barack Obama. Let's get this right. I want to make sure I get this totally right. He was appointed by Barack Obama in 2015. He was offered his resignation to Trump in 2017. I think he was asked to do that. Then he was appointed by Jeff Sessions subsequently as the interim U.S. attorney under the Federal Vacancies Reform Act. And Huber was renominated again by Donald Trump in 2017, June of 2017. And he's basically working right now as a U.S. attorney, right? So why is this important? Well, he's in the District of Utah, and a lot of people have made the speculation, of course, off the bat that basically saying that the main server is where they keep the NSA databases is in Utah somewhere. I'm not 100% on that. I mean, I know that they're there. I know what that's referring to. I don't know if that's necessarily why Huber, out of the District of Utah, was appointed as a U.S. attorney to specially investigate certain things, which Q's going to get into in a minute what those things are. But if you read through, we'll talk about it in a second. So we'll save this one for what we're going to get into in the next couple posts. But first, we're going to cover this one right here, Mike Pompeo. But I will say this just about Huber really quickly, that Huber was obviously, he was appointed. We'll go through it one more time just to be clear. Huber was appointed by Obama. He was removed by Trump. He was reappointed by Sessions and Trump. And when it's asking us why the reboot and to think logically about it, I obviously believe that, it's one of those principles of a lot of it has to do with aesthetics, how things look outwardly, how the people perceive the sequence of events. So imagine if Trump tells him he has to resign and he turns in his resignation, then Sessions looks like he's going against Trump's will by reappointing John Huber. And then finally Trump comes around and says, all right, we'll officially nominate you as a U.S. attorney again. Right? So it's all about the aesthetic, what the appearance is, the look from the outside looking in, because that's going to be a lot to do with the 4D, 5D chess that we're getting into. So we'll just jump into the next post and we'll just talk about Huber in more detail coming up here that you guys will want to hear. But here's this, it's hilarious. So Mike Pompeo at Secretary of State 70 here says, currently scrolling through Rolling Stone lyrics to name our next spying operation. Any requests? And this is obviously a reference to the Rolling Stones lyric Crossfire Hurricane, which people have speculated is the name of the operation that Peter Strzok was sent to London by James Comey on behalf of him and Brennan to meet up with SIS or MI6, which is British intelligence, in order to get started the Steele dossier in order to undermine Trump. It was 90 days before the election, so it was in order to undermine Trump. So this is the whole, everything's making sense now. And I actually do have a request for he asked here, he says, is there any requests? And if you're out there watching, Secretary Mike Pompeo, if you're watching this, let me ask, can we name the next operation Operation Toothless Bearded Hag? And it can be about what we're going to do when we prosecute Hillary. It's all about, it'll make perfect sense. Operation Toothless Bearded Hag can be Hillary, or it could be an investigation into Maxine Waters or Nancy Pelosi. You pick, any one of them. And I'm obviously joking, and that's facetious, but that would be a request. Toothless Bearded Hag. I think that sounds good for the next one. So, and for all you artists out there and Redditors and 8chaners, I thought this one was funny. The crumbs of a crust of bread. So just, you guys will know what that means. But that's not, it's kind of like an inside joke for people who know what that's referring to. Anyway, so this is exactly what it is, and the AN0N post here, he says this is has probably already been posted. Thought it was funny. Q responds to this. He says, the hard part for us is having to wait for the quote unquote public to quote unquote know what we've known for a very long time. There's no bigger threat to quote unquote them than the public being awake and thinking for themselves. Why are we here, Q? Well, this is, truer words haven't been said. I mean, a lot of us can put a lot of this together. I mean, and it's only because we sit here and we do this on a daily basis, or we watch it on a daily basis, or we follow the Q posts and watch people give breakdowns and have built a good filter to understand what's going on here, because it's a complex issue. There's so many different coinciding storylines and narratives that have to be compressed into one singular view, that it's hard for the public to even have the ability to digest it all. A lot of people are busy. They work, they have kids, they have commitments. It's not even me making an excuse for them. It's me saying that that's just the reality. So the hardest part, I think, they're all chomping at the bit there because, a lot of people will see this and think it's funny, and that's Mike Pompeo's saying that. And I don't even know if that's his actual account, because it looks like he spelled his name wrong, which I don't think he would spell his own name wrong. But the fact that Q pointed to it is very interesting. So, and it's telling us here that we've known for a very long time. They've known all of this stuff, and we've all known, basically, people who are here. We may not know everything, but we have a good idea of what's going on. And it looks pretty bad for a lot of the people who are very, very powerful as far as elected officials go in this country, and appointed officials. So it's saying there's no bigger threat to them, the cabal, the globalists, Luciferians, Satanists, whatever you name it, pedophiles. It says, then the public being awake and thinking for themselves, which that's what this is all about. Why are we here? That's what Q's asking. Q is here to provide the public with this information, and it's just, here it is. If you want to pick it up and you want to report it, then you can pick it up and you can report it. That's the freedom that we have here, and it's gonna be hard because you have this entire institution in the mainstream media that's so powerful and has such a strong grip on so many people's minds through Pavlovian techniques, through mind control, through tonal frequencies, through subliminal messaging, through Freudian psychology. I mean, they've had years, decades to put together this monolithic beast of control and control of the population. So it's obviously something that is being pointed to here in a facetious manner by this AN0N, and then by Q, he's saying basically, what are we doing here? Well, we know everything, but we can't tell you everything because the awakening has to happen organically. It can't just be thrust upon the American people, or else they may reject it, in which case we would be very, very much in trouble when it comes to these other folks who are out there trying to hurt and kill us and take over our country, basically. So jumping right into the next post, Q is responding to his own post right here, the one we just read over. And he says, what is the common theme when bad news is about to break against them? Stay vigilant, Q. We've had all types of things happen on this board. I can't even go over each and every one of them, but I can tell you this, that it seems to me what Q is suggesting here is that every time the leftists, the liberals, the cabal, the globalists, Luciferian, Satanists, pedophiles, whoever, are about to be exposed or about to have news break about their cabal or their shadow government or the seventh floor of the FBI, whatever it is, that there's almost always some kind of false flag or some kind of attack or some kind of diversion, a plane going down, or I don't want to say a natural disaster because I don't necessarily believe that would be something they would be able to control, but other things, things that can't control. I mean, I remember we were getting in some real information a few months ago, and all of a sudden you have the entire GOP, the entire Republican part of the government, the Congress, on a train in Virginia, and a dump truck tries to derail the train by sitting on the tracks. I mean, if you guys don't remember that this has all happened, and other things that we've seen, these mass shootings down in Florida, or the mass shooting down in Florida and in other places around the country. You had Vegas, you had all these things. Okay, so just be aware, be cautious, stay vigilant. That's what Q is telling us. I'm not saying that anything other than just stay aware, stay vigilant. So next post, we're going to talk about this article here, but it gives this article, Q's responding to his own post, of course, and it says, God bless the United States of America, D5Q. So D5 is, speculatively speaking here, it is what we've thought so far basically is that it's an avalanche. It's the highest category of avalanche that can fall. So it is referring to the avalanche of information that's going to be broken about these people. Not to mention D is the fourth letter of the alphabet, and 5, if you put that together, 4-5 is the 45th president. So it could be referring to Trump as well. But let's go ahead and look at this article really quickly. It's very fascinating. It's an article out of Breitbart, and this is how we were going to talk about Huber again. The Inspector General has declared, or will declare, that the FBI DOJ broke law in the Clinton email probe. Now, this is broken by Paul Sperry, and his tweet here is, Inspector General Horowitz has found reasonable grounds, quote unquote, for believing there has been a violation of federal criminal law in the FBI DOJ's handling of the Clinton investigations, and has referred his findings of potential criminal misconduct to Huber for possible criminal prosecution. And what we were talking about is Huber, who was appointed by Sessions and renominated by Donald Trump to be the U.S. attorney in the District of Utah. That is who has been appointed by Sessions to look into the wrongdoings of the Clinton Foundation. And as a U.S. attorney, he has the ability to call a grand jury. He has the ability to put together an indictment. So this is very fascinating. Criminal prosecution could be right around the corner for those involved with this DNC Clinton Foundation criminal enterprise that had been basically running behind the scenes for so many years, selling the American people out to the highest bidder internationally. So that is certainly, and those are all allegations, but we'll have to wait and see if that comes to be true. So that's what this report goes into. It just talks about how the appointment of Utah's top federal prosecutor to the probe is he was already investigating the potential wrongdoings. So we're going to see where this all lands. There's still a lot yet to be explored and to be uncovered. There's going to be a lot of new charges that may be coming out, and they may even create more indictments, maybe create more sealed indictments. Who knows? They may unseal indictments that are already in existence. We don't know anything yet other than what this story is telling us and what we have, in aggregate from across the spectrum of different news organizations that have been reporting on this issue. So that being said, there's obviously enough evidence there to warrant the IG, asking John Huber, U.S. Attorney, to consider filing criminal charges. That's a big deal, guys, especially with what we went over earlier in the Anthony Weiner indictment being unsealed after we got rid of Schneiderman and Preet Bharara out of the judicial justice system in New York in order to ensure a fair trial where the law is applied equally. It's not applied for one way for the privileged class and another way for the lower class. So that's what this is all talking about. Now, the next one, we have this incredible, he's responding to his own post here, and it's an incredible little thing he says. But he says, what had to happen first? Think logically, think DOJ and FBI, think cleaning, number 64, puzzle coming together. We have reached our cruising altitude of 40,000 feet long ago. As we prepare to land, please fasten your seatbelt and make sure your seat back and folding trays are in their full upright position. Q. I had to say that like that because I just like to imitate the guy on the little speaker. But anyway, that is what Q's telling us. He's telling us, look, what had to happen first? We had to get rid of Schneiderman. We had to get rid of Preet Bharara. We had to put people in positions where if we put together indictments and we bring them to court and we go to trial with a judge who's corrupt, with a U.S. attorney who's corrupt, with prosecutors who are corrupt, then do you really think anything's going to change? Do you really think we're going to drain the swamp? No. He's saying think logically. Think about the DOJ and the FBI. We had to clean them out first in order to get our justice system back in order. You have the Department of Justice and the FBI, the two pillars that make up our justice system here in America. And they still are to a degree, infiltrated by these globalists, cabal of just people who don't believe in the equal distribution of the law. They believe in privilege. They believe in everything that's against the American doctrine, the American Constitution, the American Bill of Rights. Everything they have been standing for so long is against that. Now, Q's saying, think cleaning. We've been cleaning house with these people. Number 64, and I'll just explain this right now. Number 64 is number 64 post from the Patriots Fight Board over on 8chan. And that board post, if I could pull it up, let me see. Yeah. That board post is the one we've already gone over several times now, where it actually shows you here. The post is being shown here is saying how the chief of staff and senior counselor was fired. The general counsel at the FBI was fired. The deputy director at the FBI was fired. The director of the FBI was fired. The head of counterintelligence was made into a cooperating witness. The deputy assistant director of counterintelligence was made into a cooperating witness. An attorney with the FBI's Office of General Counsel was made into a cooperating witness. These people are singing. And not only them, then you back out and you look at the list gets even longer. The list gets even longer. Okay, you have people from the DOJ, people from the FBI, all of them being fired and or resigning and or being forced out because of their connection to this globalist cabal. And then on top of that, you have people in the House, in the Senate, you have people in business, CEOs. It's all over the place. And they're all working together in a conspiracy against the American people and the duly elected president and his administration, allegedly. So look, that's what they're saying here. And that's what number 64 is referring to when you see it here. And he's asking, is the puzzle coming together? Well, I hope so. I hope that I'm putting this in plain enough language so that everybody understands that these are the facets of this, and that's how it's all working together. So just remember that this is all about basically getting our house in order, cleaning house. The first thing we have to do if you want indictments, if you want to see Hillary be brought up on charges for the alleged crimes that she's committed, then you have to support the cleaning of the DOJ and the FBI, because if they're not cleaned out, if they're not brought back to order, then obviously we can't expect an equal and fair application of the law, because there's going to be people who are obviously going to grant privilege, and they're going to do whatever they have through their judicial activism or whatever it is. So listen, that's what it is. I hope that clears a lot of that up for you. So that's going to be it for this episode. I want to thank everybody for watching. If you have not, the best way to support the channel, if you're looking for a way to contribute, the first best way is to come over here. If you have not hit that subscribe button, make sure you hit it. Make sure you hit the bell for notifications. That way you'll be notified as soon as these videos get posted. But the second best way, which is my favorite way, is for you to scroll down at the end of this video and leave your thoughts, theories, insights, whatever you want to contribute, whatever you think is pertinent. We try to have our own QAnon research board at the end of each one of these videos. So certainly go down there and leave your thoughts, theories, and insights in the comment board, and we'll definitely go over those. But even if you can't comment, just scroll down and read through the comments. I guarantee you'll learn something you didn't know. Now, if you're looking for another way to help, you can come over here to twitter.com, and you can search at Justin_Forum, tweet at me. Let me, I'll retweet you, hopefully, and we'll stay in contact. We'll get all this figured out. But certainly go and check out my page here on Twitter, and a follow would be great. But all the videos get posted there too. So that's a good thing about Twitter, is that if your notifications aren't working, I automatically get have my videos posted to my Twitter feed. So that's another way to get informed if you missed out on it. Now, another way you can help out, which I really appreciate, is everybody to come over here to Patreon. That's patreon.com. You can search Justin Forum Talk. You'll come to this landing page. Click this button, become a patron. I want to thank everybody in advance for coming and checking this out. You can check out my rewards and my goals. It's not a one-way street. You really get something in return for contributing, and I want to thank everybody who has been supporting the channel so far. But it's just a great way to help keep this channel alive, so I can continue to bring this information to you every day, because that's basically what I do, is try to study this and report on it every single day. So thank you in advance for coming over and checking that out. Now, before we leave, we're going to talk about the most important thing, and that's God's grace and the strength of God and the wisdom of God and the way in which we have to portray our faith to God. Why is that so important? Well, God is not something you can tangibly see unless you see the beauty of God in everything, which I choose to see that. I see God working his wonder every day. And when you make that choice, then you're putting yourself in a position to have faith and to know what faith means for you. And we're going to actually read a little verse here that I hope speaks to this to a degree. It's out of the book of 1 Timothy, chapter 6, verse 11 and 12, and it says, "Now you, man of God, run from these things, but pursue righteousness, godliness, faith, love, endurance, and gentleness. Fight the good fight for the faith to take hold of eternal life, to which you were called, and have made a good confession before many witnesses." So what that's telling us is pretty simple. We ourselves are meant to compete for God's for the faith, to compete against the world. And we have to practice things like righteousness and godliness and faith and love and endurance and gentleness. These are the things that are going to deliver us to God and bring us closer every day if we keep those first and foremost. But we have to fight. We have to compete. We have to fight the good fight for the faith. And that's what we have to do every single day. I can't tell you how awesome it is to see such a revival from where I looked at the world a few years ago. I've seen so many more people who openly talk about God, openly talk about the love of God. And I think that's important. I think we all have to do that. We all have to share God's love with one another. It's not for one of us to keep to ourselves. It's for us to bring that person who's in trouble, to lift them up, for us to stand up to the evil out there and fight it. And for us to be able to expose the corruption and the deceit and the ways in which people are being used and not even realizing it. Like we talked about with the way TVs have 100 different ways to brainwash and manipulate your thoughts, and your smartphones and your computers and everything. It's literally it's warfare on your mind. So remember that in order to fight the good fight for the faith, you have to take hold of the eternal to which you were called. And you have to go and make a good confession before many witnesses. So that just means spread the word of God. Confess your love of God to everyone and become a witness. And then you'll take those witnesses that you gave that word to, and then they'll become witnesses. That's how this works. And if we don't do it, if we don't fight every day to keep the faith, to fight for the faith, then we will never succeed. So thank you to everybody who's watching. If you didn't take anything else away from that episode, just remember God loves you, and that we are all here fighting for the faith every single day. And again, if you haven't hit that subscribe button, a great chance to come do it right now. Click it. Make sure you hit the bell for notifications. That way you'll be notified when these videos get posted. But again, thank you for watching. We'll see you next time. This has been Just Informed Talk. My name is Craig. Godspeed and God bless each and every one of you, Patriots.